Richard is a guy who works in a blue-collar workplace, and Richard is a hard worker. He wants to go fishing for fun on his day off since it's a sunny day. When Richard goes to the fishing store to get a license, he asks the person at the store for tips, and the guy says he likes to go out into the sea. So afterwards, Richard drives to the dock, and before he gets in the little fishing boat, Richard looks at the sky and thinks to himself, "What a beautiful day." Then afterwards, he gets on the boat and goes out to sea. Finally, Richard stops because he feels like he is in a good spot. So Richard puts down his crab net and puts down the fishing pole. Meanwhile, he's listening to music and feels something pulling on the pole, and he pulls up a channel fish. Richard is happy and thinks when he gets home he will deep fry it. So Richard thinks it would be a good idea to pull the crab net up, and when he pulls it up, he is happy to see 3 crabs, but realizes that one is a baby, so he puts it back into the ocean. About an hour goes by, and Richard starts noticing dark clouds are coming, and Richard thinks to himself, "I'll go back in 25 minutes." And within 15 minutes, Richard feels the pole pull and reels it up to pull up a bluegill, and Richard thinks, "Wow, that is going to taste good." So when Richard turns on the engine, he starts heading back, but he notices the boat actually going nowhere. Then Richard hears a terrible sound. The engine slows down, then stops. Richard goes to check the engine and notices he ran out of gas, and now the boat is going farther and farther into the sea. Richard is scared and starts yelling for help for hours, but realizes no one can help him, so Richard decides he will go to sleep since it is night, and maybe Richard will think of something or see land the next day. The next morning, he wakes up and realizes there is no land or boat, and Richard is scared and starts yelling at nothing, because he is mad. But realizes that won't help, so he stops and just sits there for hours. And Richard starts getting hungry, but he knows he can't eat all the things he caught or packed, including the water, all at the same time. So he eats a tiny bit and drinks a little bit, and in the meanwhile, he's still trying to catch food and starts to hear voices. Days go by, and Richard's getting more mad and starts to hear voices louder. Finally, Richard starts to throw his life vest off the boat, then realizes if the boat sinks, he will die since now he doesn't have a life vest. And at this point, he decides to go to sleep. After a couple of hours sleeping, Richard suddenly wakes up from a big bump and loud noise. When Richard looks around, he sees he crashed on a reef and is happy since now he might have a chance to eat some more food. But also scared because he knows he is not going anywhere and he is on a rock that will go back into the sea eventually. A while later, Richard is on the reef. He goes hunting for sea creatures, and every couple of hours, Richard notices parts of the reef is going back into the ocean. Richard starts getting nervous and hopes the reef doesn't go back into the ocean, but knows it's only a matter of time. Richard gets tired and goes to sleep, then wakes up from hearing loud water crashing on the rock, and Richard's fears come true. Water floods the reef, and Richard gets swept into the water. Then the water rises over his head. He sees a boat heading towards him about a mile away, so Richard starts heading toward it, but gets tired and starts to drown. And then before everything is about to go black, he sees a boat right beside him and feels something touching him, and then he faints and wakes up at the hospital.